Okay, guys, we're here with Blessing. And Blessing, say your last name because you tried to teach me and I can't.
Mpofu.
Oh, I still don't say it right. So Blessing is a friend of ours that we met in South Africa when we went over there to do Youth Week. That was 3 years ago, right?
Yeah.
And he works with the production staff there during Youth Week, and then he does a lot of other stuff throughout the year. So, Blessing, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do with Youth Week and YFC.
Okay, I'll start with my byline. I'm just a guy who believes that he can and he will change the world. I'm just in the process of working out what it means in the finer details of that. But I do believe that each one of us have a contribution to make, a significant one. I am married to Ingrid. We live in Johannesburg, South Africa. I work with Youth for Christ as a director for the national team, a team called Wiela. What do I do? I love the church. Absolutely love the church. I love empowering people. I like social media. I blog a bit. I tweet, and I'm an aspiring writer. I don't know what else you want to know. You'll have to ask. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's great. Blessing is just an incredible guy to work with, and he knows how well I work under his leadership and meeting deadlines and whatnot. I once napped for 2 hours instead of finishing a video that I thought was due the next day, but I still pulled it off, did I not?
I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, okay, you don't even remember that one. Maybe because I didn't tell you that I napped for 2 hours beforehand. That could be why.
No, I normally see it on people's faces, and I just try not to embarrass them, that's all.
I was pretty embarrassed. It's all right. Shauna was the one that told me to nap, so that was the problem.
Yeah, shift the blame.
Yeah. Okay, so tell us a little bit about Youth Week.
Youth Week is a camp run by Youth for Christ South Africa, and the camp started in 1963, so next year is going to be 2013. That means Youth Week turns 50.
Oh, that's crazy.
And so that's a big deal. And it's a group, the camp, we have young people come from throughout South Africa, Southern Africa, and many other countries around the world. We've got some guys that come out from Germany. So we've had people come from Germany, from New Zealand, Australia, the UK. Some of them don't even let us know where they come from until after the camp. And obviously the States as well. And the heart of Youth Week basically is just to see young people become Christ followers and to challenge those that already are Christ followers to grow in their walk with God, and to be able to release them to go and be God's representative, to be light wherever in their communities and wherever they come from. And we always try to make that camp as relevant as we can. We believe that we are to be geared to the times but anchored to the rock. So the way we do camp is we constantly trying to find new and different ways, but the reason for that the reason for that stays constant, and that's to introduce young people to Christ and to challenge them to live out their faith, to bring others along with them, and be good ambassadors of Christ.
Awesome. It's a lot like Revive, but Revive is on a bit of a smaller scale. We have about 300 or 350, and you guys have 800 or a little more?
Yeah, thereabouts.
Yeah.
I'd love one day to see Youth Week grow bigger, man. I just imagine a camp of 10,000.
Yeah.
That to be really pushing the limits. But yeah, we probably, about 800, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's pretty crazy. What about, how is Revive involved with Youth Week when we come?
Youth Week, Revive first came out, when did you guys first come out? Was that 2010?
Yeah, I think so. Three Youth Weeks ago, so yeah.
Yeah, 3 Youth Weeks. I think Revive has added some value to Youth Week. And, the first year we had you guys come out and get involved without even knowing what Youth Week was like. We had Revive. That was insane, by the way. It was
crazy.
We had Revive. Some of the Revive guys lead worship. Tom Lane, the Revive Godfather, one of the Revive Godfathers.
Exactly.
Trey Hill Band, Kristen, Renee Rupert, and a few other guys lead worship. And then we've also had the Revive team run some electives, breakaway groups during during Youth Week, and we've also had, so we've had you guys come out and just Revive has basically just come out to serve Youth Week, and that's added a lot of value and even the impact in terms of the campus. We've even had some of Revive guys be dorm leaders. Oh, what would you call that in the States? Cabin leaders.
Yeah, that's what pretty much.
Yeah.
We've actually started, we pulled some words from you guys. We say dorm leaders now usually, and we had contingencies like last year, but nobody really knew what that was.
Yeah.
So we just went back to teams, but it was all right.
Yeah. Oh, well, I mean, the challenge of doing anything with whether it's young people or anything at all is always about relevance, and so whether you call it teams, contingents, or whatever, or mobs or tribes, it doesn't matter. The important thing about doing anything is that it's relevant to the people that you try to serve. So,
right.
So you can call it. You can even. Did you watch Over the Hedge?
Yes.
You can even call teams Steve.
Yeah.
So but yeah. So it's all about relevance.
Yeah. Well, y'all do a great job of making it relevant for kids and even for the adults that come. It's just we had a killer time every time we've come.
Thanks.
Well, for those of you who don't know, Blessing has a blog, and he talks a lot about leadership on his blog, and he's an incredible leader and works well with people with their giftings and stuff like that. That's a big passion of his, am I right?
Yes, a very big passion.
So what we wanted to do today was kind of talk about leadership with Blessing and just some different aspects of that. So, Blessing, what does a good leader look like in your opinion?
This is what a good leader looks like. I think there are many components there are many things that make a good leader. And the first one for me would be someone who serves people. I think the world has kind of messed up the idea of leadership, and many people now see leadership as a key. See being a leader as a place of being served by other people, which isn't correct. And the general picture in a lot of cases about good leadership now has to do with what people can do for you, but that's not it either. It's what you do to empower other people. That's what so a good leader would be one who serves people. A good leader will be one who also understands, who is very clear about the cause in which he rallies people behind, and does that for people, with people.
Mm-hmm.
What else does a good leader look like? I think a good leader also knows how to hold things together, how he or she knows how to put pieces of the puzzle together for the greater good of a cause that serves people. So ultimately, good leadership is about serving people.
Mm-hmm. I think that's awesome. So let's say that someone wanted to be a good leader. How do they begin to step into that role, do you think?
Because good leadership is about serving other people. The first, you just gave me an idea. I think I'll probably write a blog post, maybe a book about it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think how you can be a good leader, first of all, is by getting yourself out of the way.
Mm-hmm.
I think you have to just get over yourself. That's the first thing about becoming a leader, in that other people's needs, other people's struggles, other people's issues will take precedence. Will come first, and not what you want or what your preferences are. And we have a perfect example, not to sound like a typical preacher or whatever, but we've got a perfect example in Jesus. I think it's Mark 10:45 talks about how Jesus did not come to be served, but he came to serve. And so the first rule to being a good leader is understanding that it's not about you. That's the first place. It's not about you as an individual, and you learning to put other people first really covers a lot of things. It covers that you don't look at your own preferences, that you're constantly identifying the needs of the people or the cause that you are the cause that you're pursuing. It means that you do everything that it takes to make that happen. So that means a lot of dying to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. What good leaders have been in your life that have influenced you in your leadership style?
Well, my dad.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. He's the first leader I ever encountered. Okay. Yep. I think my dad, actually not just my dad, but both my mom and my dad. Mm-hmm. I think I'll start there. Those are the leaders that I encountered, and that, early in my life, obviously.
Right.
So,
from day one, even.
But my mom and dad were probably the first biggest example or greatest example of what it means to be good leaders. Mm-hmm. Just to draw from my mom to start with, the qualities I admired in her. Being a good leader, I think this will also help answer the previous question, was that she was quick to identify where people had needs, where people struggled, and she somehow always found ways to come around people and uplift them from where they were. Mm-hmm. Sometimes she'd even take people into our home, and she'd find ways of empowering them to be able to stand on their own before releasing them again. And So growing up, we had quite a lot of people in our house that my mom took in. My dad, I think so my mom cared a lot, and she made sure that people were empowered. She didn't just bind up people's wounds, but made sure that they were empowered to be able to stand on their own before being released. So that's a very important aspect of leadership. And then my dad, I think my dad is a pastor. So I think maybe let me pick something from there besides just the home aspect of it.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that I admire about him is that he before making any ministry decisions, he would always consult God. He made whatever decisions that he had to make prayerfully, and so a good leader, especially in the context of ministry, is someone that doesn't take God out of the equation. God is the owner of the mission, and we serve His purposes. And like I've already said, leadership is about serving. So I think my dad was always careful never to allow the light to shine on him, but to always point everything back to God. And he would always, so that's one of the things I appreciate about him. And his patience with people, I think that's a quality that I sometimes struggle with. But my dad has always known how to be patient with people, how to walk a journey with people, he's always somehow just, I don't know, to me, it looks like it's always come naturally for him to mentor. Yeah. So I think that, so my dad made a very good mentor. He'd take, for instance, he'd take young men or he'll take even married men and just walk a journey with them and just, show them what it looks like to, what it means to lead. What does it mean to, put your family first? What does it mean to, be a leader? So a good leader, empowers people, and those are qualities that I admire. And then I think the biggest leader that I encountered another person, not in any particular order, but Jesus. You kind of expect that answer from these Christian people, right?
Right.
Of which I am one of them, but but I think there's something about in my early teens when I made a decision. I mean, obviously growing up in the church, I'd made a decision. I'm going to be a Christ. Okay, like your Sunday school teacher or your kids' church teacher, whoever it is, kind of, takes you through the steps. You must become a Christian, and yes, you pray the prayer, and yay. But early on, but later growing up in my early teens, I made a decision that I was going to follow Christ, and that I wasn't just going to do that, by label. And as my relationship, as I took my relationship with Jesus seriously from that point, I don't know how to explain this, but I saw a very good example of what it means to be a leader. Where do I start? Okay, so one, I think I've already said this point. Jesus was selfless, and two, he did that out of love. So I don't think you can be a good leader if you don't love the people that you call to serve. It's impossible. You may know the leadership principles, you may know everything by head, but if you don't care about the people, then you really cannot lead. I think that's a challenge that I also constantly have, is to learn how to love people, especially those that you don't like or those that are very different from you. And then another thing about Jesus is that he did things for the good of people that had nothing to pay him, that were not going to pay him back in any way.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
So a good leader, one of the things that sets people apart, good leaders apart, is that they're willing to do what's good for people, even if the people are not going to be grateful about it. You do something for the good of people in spite of who they are. And that's one of the things that Jesus did for us. And what are some of the other? Well, I've also had quite a lot of other good leaders that I've met, that I've encountered. Pastors that I've served under in different churches that I've been a part of. Men like Marshall Williams, Thomas Risane, some of the people that I work with right now that have qualities that are still striving to reach for. Rolf, I think Rolf has come out and spoke at Revive a couple of times now. He's got Rolf has an amazing capacity for people. So, I mean, there's quite a lot of leaders that I've met. And some of them I've met in person physically. Some I learn from them from a distance. I listen to their podcasts. I read their books. The John Maxwell's, the Andy Stanleys, the Francis Chans, and Tom Lane.
Mm-hmm.
And Patty Lane. Patty, I think, just to touch on that, Patty just knows how small things fit together. And she's a very good strategy person. And that's one of the things that I really admired about her. And then when I look at some of the Revive guys, even how you lead worship is that you're very clear about what needs to be done. Mm-hmm. And how everybody fits in. Everybody, you understand each person's strengths, and you know how to bring them together to achieve the goal. So I've seen good leadership modeled even on the stage here at Youth Week by I've worked with amazing leaders as well. So Martin and Shannon Lord, Ingrid. I've learned quite a lot from her in terms of just understanding how each small thing fits into the bigger picture. So, there are a lot of good leaders that are that challenge me. Awesome. So I have many good leaders that have influenced my life. And somehow I'm feeling guilty that I haven't mentioned all the leaders that have influenced my life.
Well, that was my goal, to make you feel guilty. If them are
listening out there and I haven't mentioned their names, I'm sorry. But the list goes on. But the most important thing for someone who aspires to be a good leader is to be able to observe other leaders. It's just to learn to observe other leaders and learn from them. So I think that's one of the qualities of a good leader: identifying, seeing, trying to find whatever it is they can learn from other leaders, and trying to implement that in their lives for the good of others as well.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Well, guys, stay tuned for parts 2 and 3 of our interview with Blessing on leadership coming up soon.